You've heard the terms thrown around all the time, right? Boomer, millennial, Gen Z, but what do those labels actually mean? And, more importantly, why should you even care? Well, over the next few minutes, we're going to decode these generations and really figure out what makes each of them tick.
So let me ask you right off the bat, which generation are you? Think about it, because it's way more than just your birth year. That little label connects you to millions of other people who grew up with the exact same major world events, the same technologies, the same cultural moments that totally shaped your view of the world.
And look, this isn't just for Trivia Night. The source material we're digging into today gets right to the heart of it. The whole point is to master how to engage, interact, and work with them. Seriously, understanding this stuff is a practical skill. It can make a real difference everywhere, from how you get along at the office to just chatting around the dinner table.
All right, so to really get where we are now, we have to look back. Let's start with what we're calling the foundational generations. The architects of the 20th century, who really laid the groundwork for the world we live in today.
As you can see, our whole timeline here is broken into 5 major generations, and each one was shaped by a totally unique period in history. We're going to kick things off with the very first group on this map, born way back in the early 20th century, the traditionalists. They came of age during a time of just massive global change, and that, of course, profoundly shaped their values.
So who exactly are the traditionalists?
Well, these are folks born between 1922 and 1943. And think about what their formative years looked like. The Great Depression and World War II. Those experiences instilled in them this deep sense of loyalty, a real caution with money, and a huge respect for authority and institutions. They're all about hard work and sacrifice for the greater good.
Okay, so after all that turmoil of the war years, this wave of incredible optimism and growth swept across the world. And this gave rise to one of the biggest and most culturally significant generations in history, the baby boomers.
Born into that prosperous post-war era between 1944 and 1963, baby boomers just became known for their optimism and their really competitive drive. They were the ones challenging social norms. They redefined work culture around career-long loyalty. And honestly, their sheer size has made them a powerful economic and political force for decades.
Next up, we're moving into the generations that make up the absolute core of today's workforce. These are the people with such a unique perspective, because they grew up with one foot in that old analog past and the other stepping right into our digital future. So here we've got 2 distinct but really connected groups. First up is Generation X, born from 1964 to 1980. People often call them the latchkey kids, and they're known for being super independent, a little skeptical, and incredibly adaptable. Right on their heels are the Millennials, born between 1981 and 2000. As the first generation to really grow up with the internet becoming a thing, they are tech-savvy, collaborative, and almost always looking for a sense of purpose and work-life balance. And that brings us right up to the present day. It is time to talk about today's youth, the very first generation of true digital natives who have literally never known a world without the internet.
Yep, this is Generation Z, born from the year 2000 onwards. They grew up with smartphones and social media as just a basic fact of life. Because of that, they tend to be really pragmatic, entrepreneurial, and they deeply value authenticity and social justice. And as they start entering the workforce, they are already shaking things up and challenging all the traditional ideas about careers and communication.
Now, here's a fascinating little term our source highlights. In some parts of Asia, Gen Z is sometimes called the strawberry generation. The idea behind it is that they bruise easily, that they can't handle pressure or hard work like the generations before them. It's a really controversial label for sure, but it definitely reveals a common point of tension between the generations.
So, we've walked through this entire timeline, right? From traditionalists all the way to Gen Z. But let's circle all the way back to our first question. Why does any of this actually matter? Well, it's about moving past the simple labels and getting to some genuine understanding. So what's the big takeaway here? The dates and the labels, they're just the starting point. The real goal is to use this knowledge as a bridge. It's about understanding someone else's communication style, figuring out what motivates them, and getting the historical context that shaped their whole view of the world. That is how we move from just using stereotypes to making a real connection.
Which leaves us with one final thought. We've laid out the whole map of the generations, but now you get to decide how to use it. Are these labels a helpful guide for building empathy and understanding? Or are they just simple boxes that oversimplify the incredibly complex individuals that we all are? The answer, is probably somewhere in the middle. What do you think? Thanks for joining us.